Good evening, all. We're live on YouTube. Welcome, everybody. Welcome,
Evening.
Tom. So we invited you back. So you were so good last week, and you said yes.
No
so
jokes this time.
Really good. So before we start, you'll see there's 2 seats empty compared to last week. So Jay is away for the weekend, so he's got some school business he's got to see to, and Steve is stuck on the bus. I think he's at Manchester Arena at the stage door getting autographed like he usually does, but he will be with us
shortly
when he gets in. So he'll probably come in with his bus outfit on, and the first thing he'll say will be, "Can you hear me?" I'll be very surprised if that's not the first thing he says, because
tickets, please.
Yeah. He'll be saying, "Can you hear me?" And if we say no, it'll go into a wild panic.
Right, okay.
That's what kind of usually happens. So we'll get on. So in the thumbnail, I put about what's the difference between a Nano and a large aquarium. I've got, I don't know, it's 100 litres of Nano, probably the top end of a Nano. And obviously you've got a very large tank of 1400.
Yeah.
We'll wait for Steve to join before we come on to that, because I wanted to kind of discuss what are the, it's a box of water at the end of the day, isn't it? But you've got 100, you've got 14 times that in terms of what you have compared to this tank. And this is probably the smallest tank I've run for a long period of time, i.e. over a year. So, we'll come to that in due course, I think. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go through and see who's knocking around, and then we'll see what's going on. So first of all, Hi Cottage Reef, you was first this evening, so welcome. Evening to you, John. Hope you're well. Rigsy69, good evening to you. MQ of the Reefer, good evening. And good evening to Russell Brooks. Yo, as always. Techers Reefer, good evening to you. And UKM 120. Skids is with us, so good evening to you. Techers is on there again. We got the Drippy Reefer.
Drippy.
Oh my God, he's feeling fruity. No good can come from that. Mickey Boy, good evening to you. Got Core Essentials. So yeah, thank you for last week for giving that giveaway to Steve. That was much appreciated. And I can see that I think it's hit the market now, hasn't it? The product that we gave away last week. So that's good to see. NG Reefer, good evening to you. Hi, Darren. So although another weekend shift ahead, hope everyone's well. Yeah, feeling good. Hiya, Haley. Good to see you. And Marek, hi to you too. And there we have Chris with a beer in hand. Always good to see.
Yeah, Friday night.
And then we've got Stuart, evening all reefers. And that would be good if you could like the like button or press the like button, as you would say, that would be much appreciated. And then we've got Core Essentials and Phil saying, Fish Palace, you're more than welcome. So that's the kind of intros in on that side. So, Tom, I see there's a bit of difference in the back. Not I can right, they disappeared. So what have you done?
So yeah, we're on Friday night, aren't we? Wednesday, I was happy with the conversion of the ammonia. So we were sitting at 0. I was talking to you on the last stream about the Dr. Timms method that I was following on this build. It said, I think it was about day 9 that I could have put the fish in, but I just wasn't 100% confident with that. I wanted to make sure that everything was, the bacteria was converting the nitrate, the ammonia, quick enough, as quick as it should be before I start putting loads of fish in, which it did. I had to do a 25% water change, which again is part of that because my nitrates were around 100, believe it or not. So it's definitely working. But I had a bit of a fight and a grapple with my RO machine. TDS pen wasn't playing ball, so I had a bit of a meltdown with that. Put new membranes in. And yeah, we finally, today? Was it today? Yeah, today we put the copper band and the sailfin in, who were the first 2 fish of the 3-phase sort of, the first stage of the fish for this build, who've been in the garage together in 8-foot tank for the last 2 years, so they know each other very well. Lights off for a few hours this morning to get them acclimatized, and it's nice to see them. The lights have been on since about 2 o'clock this afternoon, and they're feeding. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
So why did you choose those 2 to go in first rather than? the other fish. I said, I hear you.
So yeah, I've got 3 groups. Yeah, I've got 3 groups in 3 different systems. Well, I've got a purple tang and a yellow tang who were in my old Red Sea 625. And they're still in that tank now in a friend's garage, and they're coming across next. Now, my purple tang, she's had a really bad habit of not liking copper bands, and I like a copper band, as we all do. And this guy that I've had here behind me, I've had him for 3, nearly 4 years in the system in the garage.
That's a long time compared to
and it feeds. He's very, very, very tame. He feeds really well. He's always coming up to the glass. He knows when it's feeding time, and I try and feed him as much as I can, because we all know that copper bands can be a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
When it comes to feeding, a little bit picky. So yeah, the concept was put these 2 in first. They've been together in the tank for the last couple of years, so they know each other. Give them a few days, but I don't want to give them too long, because I was having this conversation with the missus earlier that I think, and I'd be interested to see what other people say really on this, but I think if you give fish too long, so they start to familiarise themselves with new surroundings, and then you put new fish in, then they see them as a threat. So I kind of think you've got to give it a few days so they're settled, and there's no signs of stress, or less, or should I say, minimal signs of stress, and they're feeding properly before you start adding more fish, really. Because from experience, when I've put too many in at once, it's gone wrong. But then at the same token, when I've had fishing for years and you've added a new fish, like Steve's got his clownfish, they don't like anybody new being added, then it goes a bit pear-shaped. So it's just about, I think it's about timing and knowing your fish, really, as daft as it sounds, and the personalities that they've got.
And also how they feel at the time as well. Because if they're on a grumpy moment, then it could kick off, and then of course they've kicked off once, and then it becomes a habit of them kicking off. I think it's difficult to gauge how long before you put the next lot in, but I think if they're copper bands, probably not territorial. I don't know if sailfin is that territorial.
The sailfin, she's a little bit, but again, fortunately, the sailfin, obviously they've got larger dorsal fins, pectoral fins. The sailfin's bigger than my purple and yellow tang in terms of size.
Yeah.
When it puffs up, so I'm not too worried there. But again, you've got the fish as stressed as it is being caught, you're netted, put in a bucket, container, transported, acclimatized, put into a new tank, new surroundings.
That's a lot of stress for me, even though they're going from A to B. So it's not as if they're going in a bag, they're going in a car, and so that you've got a lot of temperature swings, and it's really unusual. They've been settled for a while, haven't they? So it's not in and out.
So I think we're going to leave it to probably Monday, Tuesday, and then put the yellow and the purple in. Probably the clowns I've got as well. So again, I've had the clowns for years. And then we'll look at adding the fish, which is the largest number, sort of stage 3 at the garage, at the fish house. And that's where we've got about 20 chromis going in at once. Yeah. So again, they can be quite, and there's 3 from one tank and about 15, 16 from the other tank. So there's going to be a bit of a pecking order.
Yeah. So you're going to put the purple and yellow next.
Yeah.
So that's kind of phase 2, and then phase 3, which is then you throw. So I suppose if the tangs are not getting on, then by putting the other 20 fish in, that
I'm hoping so. I mean, I'm adding a convict tang, and it's a small convict tang, and they have got a really bad habit of having an attitude. They are quite aggressive. Really? I mean, they're a shoaling fish, but they on their own they can be a little bit a bit of a nuisance. But in terms of size, he is going to be the smallest fish of the larger fish, as it were, that I'm putting in the system. The smaller fish being the chromis and the clowns. But I've got an orange shoulder tang that's going in, and she is about 7-8 inches long. So it's a big fish. And that's going to be the fish of that's going to be the fish of the tank, sort of thing. It's in the dominancy, and sort of moving down the food chain. It'll be like I say, it'll be a mix up between the purple and the yellow and the sailfin. There'll be a little bit there, I think. But fortunately, I think there's enough. I'm not going to talk about obviously the topic of this evening or one of the topics, but fortunately, there's enough space, or I'm hoping there is, for people to have their own little bit, their own little space without having to bang heads with each other, which is always good. So I think you can put too many fish into a small tank and it can go a little bit wrong. I've seen it happen. So
yeah, but even if there's enough room, if you just get one idiot fish, even some of the peaceful fish, if that goes rogue, that can cause problems. So some of it is
definitely,
yes, isn't it? And I think a lot of it is driven by food. So have you going to set up auto feeders to try and feed throughout the day?
I'm going to feed. I'm going to feed 3 times. I'm going to feed 3 times a day. Again, at the minute, nutrients to me, I'm not really worried. This is, again, yes, it's a new build, but these are fish, without sounding cheesy, that I've had for a long time, and the fish are really, important to me because, as we know with copper bands, as I said a minute ago, it's really hard to find a good one. One that's, that's robust and hungry and can put weight on and hold weight on, and mine can. So and again, my purple tang, I've had her 12 years. My yellow tang, I said to you on the last stream, I bought 3 of them sort of 5-6 years ago, so I've had him for a long time. So I don't want anything to go wrong. So I'm going to feed 3 times a day. I'm going to feed morning frozen. During the day when I'm at work, it'll be on an auto feeder, which will be pellet, and then at night I'll feed again frozen when I come home. Yeah, and I'm just going to keep to that regime. And if you look at your fish, the fish in the garage, there's no coral in the garage, so I feed heavy. I do feed heavy, and they're all fat. And as I've always said this before, happy fish, happy tank. Yeah, if you fish happy,
you've got no coral, so actually, the nutrients, while you don't want them to go sky high, they can go higher, and you can address that. You start to understand the balance of the tank, and actually, that sweet spot based on how many fish are you feeding the right amount. If the nutrients are quite low, you can increase it. If they go higher, then you just make a decision. You probably won't pare back on the feeding. You might do something else with filtration. Of course, it takes time to kick in as well, doesn't it? It takes quite a few months before you get to a position where you think, well, actually, the filtration's doing as it should do. And then, of course, you've got. Yeah. Are you going to have a refugium? Do I remember rightly? You're not having a refugium.
No, I'm not having a refugium because I'm obviously running the Zervit system. So I don't really want the refugium to be stripping anything out other than any trace elements out. So I'll be dosing those separately. And the other thing is I just simply didn't have the space. But no, it'll be like I say, it's the carbon dosing, big skimmer. The trickle filter system, which is just a very basic system for me. As I said on the previous stream, from a husbandry point of view, I want something that's easy. So I do it on a regular basis because, as we all know, the minute stuff starts becoming difficult, we're more reluctant to do it, so we don't do it, and then it starts going downhill. It
starts to snowball, doesn't it? And then it's hard to put it back. That's what if I look at this tank, what completely different size, obviously. I had green hair algae, and I thought it was just part of the maturity, and it went on too long, and it went on, and I should have nipped it in the bud, and I didn't. And in the end, I've spent probably the last 3 months getting rid of the green hair algae, which is gone now. I've got a little bit of diet. I kind of like pretty brown kind of dust on the sand bed that I've got to get rid of. So it's much better than it was. The issue is because it's a small tank. I've been doing lots of water changes. I've been manually removing them. And so your nitrates and your phosphates just go all over the shop because
that's what we're going to talk about. I'll save it for a minute.
But even in a bigger tank, if it's the equivalent in a bigger tank, you're still taking it out. And of course, the nutrients they looked okay, but that's because the green hair algae is sucking it.
So it's absorbing
the algae up. So for me, the lesson learned on this is I should have just addressed it, and I didn't. But that's the first time I've had a problem, really a big problem in the first 12 months of a tank where it's gone. Usually goes through its maturity. You think, green hair algae, just take care of itself. And I tell you, I've put in an urchin. It's the first urchin in all the years I've had a tank. Yeah, my God, they're brilliant.
Tuxedo.
I'm not sure if it's a tuxedo. I think it's slightly bigger than a tuxedo, so I'm not too sure which one it is. But I tell you what, it polishes off the rocks. So all the algae I had in the rocks has just gone completely. And then what I didn't realise, it's now going on the sand bed and it's picking up of the sand bed. The only issue is it's quite a small tank. So actually, once it's taken it all, I might have to move it to one of the other tanks that's got a bit of algae and then put it back. Because what I don't want to do is starve it. But I haven't really had a need for an urchin in the past. but it's really done the trick. And it's fascinating when you see them on the glass. You think, how the hell are you holding onto the glass?
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah,
but also it's got a couple of zoas stuck to it. So it's got volcano day globe zoas, which are about £80 a polyp. So
really?
Bloody carrying around really expensive zoas. But I'm just going to leave it because I've got loads of them in the other tank. But I will try them. But you think of all the things to take off the most expensive zoa I've got.
Expensive zoa, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So fingers crossed. So you won't really know about the balance on the nutrients until you've put all of the fish in, and then you give it a couple.
Yeah, exactly. And it sounds a bit silly, but it's like dialing a skimmer in. It's like you're dialing your tank in. It takes a time. You've got to be patient. And as I said, I keep repeating myself, but as I said on the last stream, if this had been my first build, by now all the fish would be in. I'd be trying to probably put frags in. I'd have probably really rushed it. And you've got to take your time with it. I mean, it's trial and error. I've had a few issues the last couple of days with the temperatures. Obviously, we talked about on the last stream about the weather. One thing with a big tank is it can take a long time to heat up, down. But it can take a long time to cool down.
Yeah.
At the minute, we're on 26 degrees, and I'm trying to. I want to run it at 25 and a half max, and so there's no heaters, and the T5s aren't even on. So we've got to put some time and do a bit of research into this fan that we've got in set up for this extraction unit, because it's just not feasible to be running a chiller 12 months of the year, is it? Let's be honest,
Well, the electric, because you might be better off getting an aircon unit rather than a chiller.
Exactly.
Cost-wise, it'll probably be better than that. I must admit, I've hardly done anything to the tank when the temperature's high, because there's no point doing water changes.
No.
I could see that some of the corals were sulking, the fish were all okay. I've got to say, in this tank, I've lost all of my snails. So I had about 8 snails, they've all just gone. The other tanks were okay. These are just gone. So I put some carbon in. Whether that's heat related, I don't know. But I'd never experienced that before, when all the snails have just died. Within about a 24-hour period, they all just croaked. And I've never had that before. So I don't know if that was down to hot weather or whether it was something else. Because now, the temperature's dropped. The corals are no longer sulking. I've put carbon in there just in case. I don't think there's any coral warfare. You could have NEMs and the different types of NEMs giving off some kind of poisons because they're attacking one another, but they seem to be okay. But what I haven't done is panic. I haven't done any water change or anything. I'll just put some carbon. I will do a water change probably Sunday, because the temperature's now dropped. The tanks are back to a stable temperature. Mine always run about 25. I'm happy with 25, I must admit. So that's just a bit weird. So I'm not going to add any more snails probably for 3 or 4 weeks. Get a couple of water changes in there, make sure nothing else is untoward, and then I'll add some more snails. But it's a bit bizarre because you always lose snails from time to time. That's just the way it goes. But all of them just to go, and I've got no snails left in this tank at all. I didn't have many to begin with.
What did your temperature go up to, though, from memory?
This one 28? High. So this one went to about 26.5. The tanks in the garage were 20. The highest they went was 27.8 that I saw. And they was running at 27 for probably most of the time. Early in the morning, I was opening all the doors and it was getting down to about 26.4, but not a massive swing. No more than about half a degree over a 6 or 7 hour period, which for me, I don't think that's too much. But the snails and all that are fine in the other tanks, and the temperature was higher. So what can you do? If anyone's got any ideas, then shoot it in the comments. But everything else is.
Did anything else suffer in the tank with the hot weather that we had? Just the snails?
No, just the snails. The corals were sulking, so things like the candy cane are not as puffed out, so they shrunk back a little bit. So in all 3 tanks, the LPS were a little bit more shriveled than they usually.
Have you got any invertebrate, any crabs or anything, any cleaning shrimp or anything?
No, so I don't. I just put snails in all tanks because I don't have the crabs trying to.
So we've been interested if anything had affected that as well, because normally they can be the first to be a little bit susceptible to any increase in temperature.
The other tanks were hot because I've got the Red Sea auto top off in here, so you've got a temperature monitor, so I can see what's happening over the last couple of days, and so it was I look at it every day when it was hot, and you could see it was going to 26.6. And there's only about a 0.2 difference between the probe that's up here and then the probe that's in the display, which runs the DD controller. And 0.2 for me, I can live with that because you've got two different controllers. 0.2 difference for me is, I don't think that's an issue at all. Trying to get them both to the same temperature is probably highly unlikely because they're in two different parts of the tank for starters. Yeah. But so I'm just going to leave that for 3 or 4 weeks, and then I'll add some more snails to the tank, and then we'll go from there. So in terms of the maturity of your tank, obviously you got the fish in there. Are you still carrying on dosing the KZ stuff? What's your next step?
I've not started the bacteria strain yet. That's probably going to be next week. I'll just be honest with you, just with work and getting, I mean, a 25% water change. I mean, I did 300 litres on yesterday.
Yeah.
Because obviously I'd run the salinity low, so I'd got to resalt it. I'd had the temperature high. I'd had to reduce it. So fortunately, by putting the fresh water in, it brought the temperature down slightly. But I was up till about midnight doing it. So yeah. No, that's going to be next week. That's going to be next week, and that's when obviously I'm creating this this string of bacteria it's literally going to be consuming the ammonium, preventing it from turning to nitrite and nitrate. Yeah. So that's hence why you can feed heavily and hopefully, touch wood, not have to do as many water changes. So yeah, at the minute I'm just focusing on keeping the fish alive, healthy, with the fact I'm introducing 3 groups of fish over the next 2 weeks, and then we'll just monitor it, see what it is. But the temperature is a bit of a concern at the minute, so that's something that I'm going to be looking into next week to see how I can, because I mean, we had the hot weather last week and the week before, but it's cooling down now, it's gone. So yeah, I want to make sure that there's no issues, especially over the colder months. And it's a good time to trial, as daft as it sounds, it's a good time to trial a new tank, because you want to know what it can and can't do in the colder months, rather than edge your bets in the summer and it go wrong. Cost you a lot of money and
Right, so I've got a question here from Drippy. He said, would feeding before you transport them so they have a full belly when entering new tank help calm things down initially?
Well, I couldn't really comment on that one, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm transporting them from literally 5 meters away to a tank, well, in a bucket. And I mean, every time I go into the garage and feed the tank in the frag system, I feed the copper band and the sailfin, who in the same room but on a different system. So they get fed probably 2 or 3 times a day. They got fed this morning before I netted them, because unfortunately the lights in the garage got a really bad tendency to be on different cycle patterns. So when one light's on, one light's off. So they do tend to be swimming around quite a lot at the same time. So no, they got fed this morning, but I think you've got to acclimatise fish. And again, I'm no expert. Let me just make that clear. I'm no expert. I've been in the hobby a fair bit, but when it comes to fish, I've found that you acclimatise them to an extent, but not too much. Because sometimes if you're trying to do too much, that can be a stressor in itself. If I'm making any sense, sitting in a bucket too long, you know what I mean? Looking up on the world, it's for anybody. Yeah, you got to find that balance. So, and then lights off. I'd love to have turned the lights on. Steve, evening.
Hi, Steve.
Yes, chaps. How's it going?
Oh, yeah, good. You?
No, I'd have loved to put the lights on, Paul, the minute I put the fish in. But at the same token, whose benefit was that? For mine or for the fish? And so I left them off. I left them off for a good 4 or 5 hours, and just kept my eye on them, and then put them on gradually. And again, there's no T5. It's just the Orphex, it's just the blues and the reef brights, and put a little bit of food in and see how they reacted. And fortunately, touch wood, everything's all right. Everything's good.
Yeah. So because you don't really need that much light, do you? I mean, you could run it on a low cycle, and you could actually run it just for a few hours, couldn't you, to begin with, just on a go. Yeah. Because they'll get natural light. If you've got a lot of light in that room, obviously they'll get the natural light and they'll be able to see. And that might help with the acclimatization as well when you add in the other fish. Not having the lights on that much or having them dimmed a little bit more might help them to become 100%. Accustomed to it and less aggression. You just don't know, do you? And then just ramp it up ramp it up gradually, I suppose, which will help. Steve, we're just talking about Tom's tank, and he's put the first couple of fish in, the Southfin and the copper band before he puts the next one. So that's a phase 1 complete.
It's not in a glass box anymore.
No, it's not. Yeah, a dry box. Yes,
dry box.
Love it.
Yeah,
love it, mate. Love it.
Yeah, cheers.
I can see. Oh, love it. I'm loving the flow on top of it as well. What are those pumps? Well, what are the pumps set out, Tom?
What? Sorry.
What is the pump set out to get that flow on the top of it that I can see? Do you know what the percentage is?
99%.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, both of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it serious?
Wow. I've increased it gradually. To be fair to Mick, again, I'm not sponsored by Mick, but to be fair to Mick, he came the other day. We put some some random flow generators on. You can't see it because the lights.
Oh,
on,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A massive difference. But we again, and this goes back to what I said a minute ago. We're dialing this tank in. It's going to take weeks. It's going to take months.
Yeah.
It's not a plug and play exercise. Things are going to go right. Things are going to go wrong.
Yeah.
There'll be a conversation.
Exactly.
We should have, would have, could have. Whatever. We are where we are. It's 400 litres of water in my house. We've got fish in it. So what can we do? And I don't think we're going to have to go down the power head route, but I do think we're going to have to make some changes with. Just adjusting the size of the basically putting a few reducers on here and there to create a little bit of more back pressure, to create a little bit more flow, if that makes sense. Getting that spread, because it's all right about it now, but like I was saying to you, Steve, you came to see me in 3 years' time. If I'm fortunate enough to be growing colonies the size I want to be growing them, I don't want to then have problems.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
The whole flow will change as corals start growing out.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Then the whole flow throughout, but where things will bounce around, they're going different directions, and then different dead spots will potentially appear. And you've got to think about, well, actually, can you eradicate all the dead spots, or some you just have to live with? Because actually, to try and sort one place out, you might have to change the whole flow, and it's not worth the aggro. So it'll change kind of every 6 months, when it depends on the growth patterns.
Yeah, I've watched loads of YouTube videos with reefers again, mixed reef, SPS. It doesn't really matter that much. I mean, obviously with SPS you want a lot more flow, but again, who I've literally set out and said, I've got an MP40 or an MP60 or whatever it is, or a gyro or whatever, and the tank's grown over 3 years, and they've ended up having several of them for that exact reason. So I don't read any words. But I'm trying not to at the minute. Yeah. We shall see.
I know what you mean. So at AAC, they've got a massive display tank.
Yeah.
And every year, Paul is moving the power heads around, adding new power heads because of the way it grows. And the more it grows, the flow gets disrupted more. And he's almost putting another one in there, another one there. And he's got loads at the back that you can't see, just trying to thread it through. And then all of a sudden, he'll just cut it all back, because it's the right thing to do, because you'll get those dead spots, and corals just, especially the SPS, don't they die in the middle because they're not getting the flow. It's almost like gardening. We have to, with a tree, you take out the middle of it to allow the air to get through.
Yeah, flow for me is more important than light, believe it or not, when it comes to SPS from experience. So if I can't get the flow right, I won't be. There's no point in saying, well, the flow's okay, but the light's brilliant. Let's focus on what is important and get it brilliant before we move on to the next topic, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
The lights are probably okay. The lighting you've got is going to be fine. You've got the right spread, and it's just a case of getting the spectrum right, I suppose, on that, when you've got a mix of different lights, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right, so I just got one comment other than Drippy's here. Currently got 3 blue-eyed cardinals in QT, £60 for free. Very underrated fish. Eat like pigs. I must admit, I'm not familiar with blue-eye cardinals. Let's see what they look like.
Blue-eyed cardinals.
I know that. Okay, let me share my screen. Where's the share? There we go. get there in a minute. Right, I don't know if you can see. It's those ones.
Oh, right. Yeah. I've had those before years
you can
ago.
keep those in groups, can't you?
Yeah.
Blue-eyed cardinals.
Yeah.
They're probably quite nice if you could, I would imagine, quite small. So if you get those, don't go schooling. They probably, I imagine, you get 20 or 30 of those in a tank.
Yeah.
They would look superb.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I do love the Bengai cardinals. I think they're just absolutely they're just beautiful Bengais, but they're just so vicious, mate. They're vicious, so vicious towards each other. It's unbelievable. You know, like, yeah. It's great how they just hover. No matter how much flow you have in your tank, they just seem to hover. No matter what, they just stick there, and no matter what flow you've got, mate, they just don't move. They just stay in one place, and they're just like hovering.
I know. I've seen them in shots.
I love them, mate.
Are you alive? Are you alive? Because they just don't move.
Yeah.
Like they're on screen.
They just don't move. Yeah, they do, mate. Honest to God, they're fantastic. Yeah. But I had three in mine, and then I think one lasted all of a week, I think, and then the second one that lasted quite a while. Actually, that lasted maybe about 2 years. About 2 years or so. And then that died, and now I've just got the one. But I was always contemplating whether to add another one to it, but I don't think you could, to be fair. You know, like add one to another existing one. I think it could be tricky. Yeah. You know what I mean?
If we get two males, then they'll tear one of them apart. Now, I had a pair in the other tank, and they actually bred, and then the male died. Now, what happens is the male obviously has the eggs in the mouth. As soon as those eggs go, the female then gives them more eggs. And the thing is, once they've got the eggs, they don't feed. So what you do find is that they can end up starving because the poor buggers have constantly got eggs in their mouth. And so therefore what you do find, people that breed them, once the male has had the eggs, they'll separate the two fish, build the male back up, and then put the male back in. So I've still got one of the fish that we bred. It was purely by mistake. But we had 6 of them, and they've gradually gone down. So I've got one of them left now. But
I do like them, to be fair.
Yeah, when they've got the eggs and they open their mouth, the males, and you can see the eggs inside and the silver dots. Whether that's the eyes or not, I don't know. And then if you raise the babies, it's brilliant.
I think that's, to be honest, one of the most amazing fish, in a sense of like parenthood. How they do it is like have them all in the gob, you know what I mean? And then they spit them out, and then they open their mouth, and then they all swim back into it. It's such an amazing feat of nature. I absolutely love that. You know what I mean? Whereas clownfish, they just lay it on it wherever they can put it, don't they? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once they've hatched, they all get it. It's just it's a shame. It's a shame for them, but there's no way you could keep them.
Absolutely. Right, got another question. Talking of flow, anyone ever considered the wave box? Is that the Tunzi wave box?
Yeah,
AAC got one. So I've seen them before. They do look really good. And also they're quite discreet. So you can put them in the
compact,
corner.
Aren't they?
Yeah, so I suppose the fact you can put them in the back corner, couldn't you? And then the wire goes up. You'd still see the wire, but it wouldn't be as bad as having it on the end glass. Would you consider that?
You asking me?
Yeah. I know you don't want any wave makers at all.
I've got to.
It would be discreet, wouldn't it? It would be discreet, wouldn't it? On your corner, on the left-hand side.
Yeah, like Paul said a second ago, I'm not going to allow flow to affect growth of corals that I want to grow in the tank. So if it means spend a little bit more money or rejigging things with Mick, then so be it. I'm a big fan of the Neptune WAVs, I'll be honest with you, for direct flow, for a big, and this is again going back from my experience in the garage, with the fish house. They're a very affordable pump that has got a lot of punch in a straight line if you've got a big system of water. Yeah, I bought 2 a while ago, put them in my Red Sea 625, and I was like, holy cow, at 30%, I had to take them out. They were just way too powerful. Yeah, way too powerful.
So what was that? Is that the Neptune wave?
Yeah, the Apex WAVs.
Right.
Yeah, the Neptune WAVs. And the thing as well for me is that if hypothetically, let's just say, and I'm not committing to anything yet because we're early days. If I do have to go down a powerhead route, I've got very little room between the glass and the wall because of how tight it is. If you remember, Steve, when you came, so there's no way I could get a Vortec on there because of the dry side. It's not going to fit. So fortunately, the Neptune WAVs, the magnet on those is literally, I think it's about 10-15 mil. There's not a lot in it. So that'll fit just nicely. And I've had the return of this side of the tank. I put a backing on it as well in black. Mick put me a backing on it, so they will hide discreetly on there if I choose that I need to use them. But I'm hoping not to. Yeah. But I've seen water boxes again. I've watched people with them, and they've been brilliant. And again, from memory, they're very random, if I remember rightly. So it gives you quite a lot of random flow. So it's something I'd consider.
Yeah.
But again, I've got. God, I could open a shop with second-hand equipment. I've got that much stuff I've collected over the years. So I'm not used to what I've got, you know.
If it
works, it works. It's like I was on the phone. I was talking to Mick about flow earlier about this because I'll be honest with you, I was expecting, you know, the room to be shaking with these returns with how much flow, and the turnover I'm getting is unreal. So they're working. I'm not going into the science behind the water, etc. With the flow that Mick was on about earlier, but we've just got to dial it in. Yeah. You know, it's going to take a few weeks. It's going to take a while to dial it in. And one thing that Mick said that is a good suggestion is to get a few little beads or rocks and, you know, glue some little ribbon to it or some, you know, like fishing line or whatever, so you can see how it moves with the flow. So you know where your dead spots are, or you know where your high spots are, and you can address it accordingly. But if I really have to, you know, we'll put a powerhead on. But I think we'll be all right. I think we'll be all right.
Fair enough. I've just got a couple more comments. So Coral Euphoria uses one of his tanks.
Yeah, like Coral Euphoria.
Insane his tanks. Insane his tanks.
It's a fair comment there about direct flow and indirect flow.
Yeah.
And they're about the same price as an MP40. So that's pretty good value. So I love the MP40s. Yeah. I think they're really good and they last.
Yeah, I've had them for years.
Yeah,
I've had them for years.
Yeah,
I've had them for years. And
there's a question here. Are you going to introduce lots of copepods?
Yes.
So you're going to culture them yourself because you'll need a hell of a lot.
Well, I've kept this a bit of a secret, to be honest with you, in the last couple of streams, and I didn't even mention this to Steve. But I've got a pair of dragonettes in the garage.
Okay.
And my female's pregnant, and she's been pregnant for a while, which is why I don't want to move them yet. Obviously.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a pregnant dragonette?
No.
Google it. It's unreal. I thought there was something wrong with her. I was worried at first. I thought she'd had some sort of I thought I was going to lose her. I thought there was something wrong. I've had them for years. I don't really see them much during the day. I see them more during the night, to be fair. But they've been in there for about 5 years. And one morning I went in. Excuse me, lights were off. It's like, oh my God, what has happened to that? And I Googled it. I thought, something ain't right here. And I thought, and I Googled it and it just came up and I was just like, that's exactly what it is. But I've not seen her in a while. I've seen her for a couple of days. So fingers crossed they're all right. But yeah, I'm going to be doing the copepods for that exact reason. But yeah.
You can see that picture there on the right-hand side.
Yeah, that's not the best, if I'm honest. There's some of them on there I've seen, Paul, and they get massive. It's like nearly like, I would say, like a golf ball size, believe it or not. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think there's a better.
That's crazy, isn't it?
That, to be fair.
Yeah, never. Like I say, I've had them before. I've never had this, but again, they don't. Yeah.
Funny you should talk about dragonettes, though, to be fair, because I've got one and I was so contemplating introducing a male, to the tank. But I've had my dragonette for well over 4 years now. You know what I mean? She's like been going strong and everything. But she's called Lily. Yeah, the kid's named her Lily, but now she's called One Eye Lily because she's only got one eye, and I don't have a clue on how it happened. She had two eyes when I bought her, so I don't know if she's had a fight or she's caught it or anything like that. But I was so contemplating like adding a male to the tank. But then I'm thinking, will like a blindness, like in one eye, like maybe
Well,
be detrimental to him. She might not like the look of him, no, mate. So yeah, she might. But then I've read up on it, and they've said like some people have said, yeah, it'll be all right to add to it, yeah, and then some others said, oh no, they could fight and all that, and he could. So I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want it to like kill her or anything like that because I would devastate him, mate. You know what I mean?
Let's be honest, it's not, is it?
Not worth it. No, it's not worth it for sure. But I thought, you know what? I thought she's been on her own, mate, for the past 4.5 years or whatever, yeah. And I thought, oh, should I get, like I'm introducing more fish to the tank. So I'm thinking, should I get her a little, like a mate and all that, like, a male, but it's just not worth the risk, like you say, Tom, just in case, because I'll never forgive myself if it killed her, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think I'm just going to take a pass on that, to be fair, and I'm not going to bother.
I put mine in as a pair, to be fair, and like I say, I've not seen them for a bit, but yeah, they're when I saw it last. Go on, sorry, you're all right.
No, I put that many pods in this tank. Honestly, I mean, my local LFS there out of the blue, yeah, she's doing pods now. She's got pods for like £1. So I know a bag of pods, yeah, for £1. So it's like, so I've been buying like packs of 10. I've been getting 10 packs and then 20 packs, and I've just been banging them all in, into the tank. So she's like well onto it, but it's also fish food for the other fish as well, isn't it? Because you do see them going about, especially like my wrasse and all that, my 6-line wrasse.
Wrasse absolutely love pods. I usually find the clownfish don't tend to pecking them too much, but wrasse,
wrasse,
like they peck at anything. I'm not sure about tangs. When I had tangs, I didn't really notice the tangs going much after the pods. I don't know if it was too small for them or the fact that they
could be too small.
Algae as well, to be fair. On that side, but I noticed the cherub angelfish loves them, and the dotty back as well. So whether it's the smaller fish that tends to like them. So I put some packs in today. So I was at AAC earlier today, so I just picked up some pods. I just throw some in every so often, just to. Not so much as food, just really to help, because they help with the bacteria.
Oh, it's just stuff
like that, don't they?
One of the best things you can add. Yeah, the best thing you can add to your tank pods.
Yeah, I mean, there's that BRS.
Not only that though, it's like but not only that though, you just don't, obviously, because they're so microscopic and you just don't see them. Yeah, you think. Well, I was cleaning the sump out the other day. I gave it a clean and all that, and some of the bio ball, the bio balls and stuff like that. Yeah, I was lifting them out, and I'm putting them in the bucket so I could get this. I've got one of those, those VCA, the little tiny little pumps that suck out the
little Hoover,
VCA,
little Dyson.
Yeah, the little Hoover. And I'm just like hoovering it all up, all the little bit of detritus and some of the sand and all that, it gets pumped in and all like. And I was hoovering it all that, and I kid you not, when I went to put the balls back in, yeah, there was hundreds and hundreds of, because there was no water in there. Well, there was a little bit of water, but there was hundreds of pods all in the bottom of the bucket. Where they were hiding in the bio balls. And all that. They must have been hiding in there. And I was like, I just tipped all them, back in. But you just don't, because they're so inconspicuous, you just don't see them. Yeah. But it's fascinating.
I'd rather have them crawling up my arm than a bristleworm, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, for sure, mate. Yeah.
Tell you what, sellotape I find gets the bristles out. But
you've never been stung. I've never been stung by them.
You've never been stung?
Never, mate. Never. I've got some. I went through a bad infestation about 2 or 3 years ago in the tank. They were everywhere and they were massive, mate. There were some ginormous ones in there, yeah. And I made my own fish trap. I made my own bristle worm trap. Yeah, I made one. With a Coke bottle, like a small Coke bottle, and turned it upside down and put a bit of it. And every one of them, mate, they would all come out at night time. It was like some out of a horror show. You know what I mean? They all come out, climbed in, and they got stuck, mate. But and ever since then, to be fair, I've got the odd couple, but only tiny ones that I can see of. You know what I mean? And they just come out of the door. I haven't seen anything like the massive ones that I did have. So thankfully, anyway, my missus just freaked out with them, to be fair.
I can trump you on that, Steve, I'm afraid. I bought a pair of blue throat triggers for the 8-foot tank that I showed you that I had a few years ago. That Mick bought me. Mick built me. Well, it's the same tank that these two fish are in the garage, to be fair, or have been. And they were in a doorlav in my fence cellar for many, many weeks, months, while the system was set up. Came to catch them. There was only one. Couldn't find the other one. The doorlav was literally flushed to the walls. Couldn't find it. And I'm talking trigger, so you're talking what, 2, 3, 4 inches?
Yeah, the
like
big,
decent size
fish.
Yeah.
And emptied rock out, couldn't find it. So I ended up bringing one fish. 6 months later, or if not longer, my friend had sold this piece of live rock to somebody that was buying it. Dropped it on the floor, and I'm talking a big piece of live rock here, not small. And a bobbit worm came out of it, and it was about 2, nearly 3 foot long. Now I'm not saying it ate it, but strong possibility it ate it.
But there's a
creeper.
Strong possibility. And he said it was like something off Alien. He just kept cutting it up, and it just kept squirming. It just couldn't.
Oh, mate. Oh, the creeper. They do give me the creeps.
I've never seen one. I've never seen it, but yeah.
Oh, mate, they're horrible. They're creepy.
I've seen them on videos. Yeah, I've watched them on YouTube, but I've never had one in my time.
Not in the flesh, so to speak.
Not in the flesh, but yeah, that's where my blue throat, female, male or female. I think it was female that I lost. I kept the male, but
definitely.
Anyway,
definitely.
Yeah.
I did, mate.
On pods, when you buy them from the shop, do you throw them straight in with the water, or do you filter them via a sieve first? So you put them in. And the water from wherever it's come from, because you never know where it's come from. I
filter them.
You never know where it's come from. You don't know if it's full of nutrients.
We've got to. It's like the frozen food.
To be honest, I open it. I open all the packs and I put them all in a jug. Yeah, I open all the packs, put them all in a jug, and then I've got that super micro fill. You know, the micro thing, like really, really fine. And I just tip the water down the sink. You know, like while I'm tipping it, holding it. And then there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pods, and then I just cover my hand and I just tip them all in the tank at once. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I never. To be honest, and that's why I started making my own food, was because of the stuff that's in that water. I don't care what anybody says. They're not using our own water topping them up. That's impossible, mate. You know what I mean? All you got to do is defrost it. Yeah, defrost some of it, drain the water out of it, and put it and run it under a phosphate test or a nitrate test. That's all you got to do. The water and see where it stands. You know what I mean? And I guarantee you it'll probably go through the roof. You know what I mean? So, and that's where when people say the phosphates are so elevated and this, that, it's because of that food, mate. You know what I mean? I have not seen. Now I tested my tank again a couple of days ago, and for I think it's 5-6 weeks, it has remained absolutely rock steady. It's not gone up. It's not gone up, and I'm feeding quite heavy now. Really heavy, to be honest, in this tank. You know what I mean? And it's not gone up, mate. It's remaining like 10 ppm. You know, phosphate. In fact, phosphates are actually dropping, to be honest. I don't know how, but because I'm not using anything. But it was like 0.03 this week, and I was like, oh my god, that's not the best. But because I like to have mine about 0.07 to 0.07 to 0.1. You know what I mean? That seems to be the good point. But I don't know what's going on with it, to be fair. But I'm adding some more fish tomorrow, so we shall see where it goes then. I'm sure it will raise up.
It's like Groundhog Day, Steve. Every Friday the fish are coming. The fish, I'm getting the fish.
No, I've got some fish in here. I've already got some in, mate. But I've already got some fish in here, but I'm getting some more tomorrow. So yeah.
So we got to wait and see, and then you'll surprise us and you'll tell us next week.
Yeah, it's going to be a video. Yeah, I'm going to do a video, so you'll be able to see.
Good.
So people will be shocked. People will be shocked when they see it. Like, you know, like 5 fish. I've only got 5 fish at the boat. You know, at that time, sort of thing. Now I won't have 5 fish. You know what I mean? So it's it's good.
I can't say it really because Jay's not here, but you're not going to be reading a bedtime story, are you?
No. I don't read my fish bedtime story.
Just checking. Tough love. Steve gives him tough love.
Yeah, tough love, mate. And if they've been naughty, they go without food.
Food and water, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't go down food, mate. Yeah. Tough love. So you got to give them, mate.
Yeah.
They respect you.
So, in the title, I put around differences between a nano and a large aquarium, and we've got kind of extremes here. 100 liters there, 1,400 liters.
Yeah.
It really is. So, where do we start on this? So, both water in a box. So that's probably and you have flow and you have heat and all the basics.
Yeah.
But do we think there is a big difference between keeping a tank this size? Not even so keeping a tank that size. I think 14 is 100 is probably way out there. I think if you look at it, even if it's 450,
like 500-600 liters.
600.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's yours, Steve? 350, 400?
350, yeah. I mean, you know what? There is you know what? I've said it to you before. Yeah, it's all about keeping water in it. When we keep our aquariums, it's about keeping the water healthy. You keep the water right, yeah, or as close to right as you can, yeah. Then logic says, that corals of fish will survive and corals of fish will thrive. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it doesn't matter whether you've got a tiny box like yours, a medium-sized one like mine, or a monster like Tom's. It doesn't really matter. All that matters is the equipment that you've got to put on it. Do you know what I mean? You've got to put more equipment on something like Tom's. Like I thought I had a lot of equipment on my tank, but then I look at Tom's and I'm like, Jesus, what the hell? This is like on another planet. You know what I mean? The amount of equipment that Tom's got on. But for what Tom's going to be doing, he's keeping corals, he's keeping fish. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing, but in a smaller volume of water, and that's what you're doing, Paul, in it, in a smaller volume of water volume. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I don't think there's any different. It's just the cost of the amount of cost that it takes to run it and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Personally,
the cost is an obvious one. I think for me,
from
I've had a Nano. I'd read Nano years ago. Put 2 clowns in it when I was going through a stage of collecting zoas. God knows why I was doing that, but I did. Like a lot of stuff. And it was a nightmare to run because it was just up and down all the time, you know, in terms of spikes, alkalinity, salinity. And I just found it really difficult. And I take my hat off, you know, to you and Jay Paul for having, you know, really good, you know, established nanos, because it takes a lot of time and patience. I really do take me out to you. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, I think if I look at this tank, even this is 100 liters. The 170 that I've got in the garage is easier. Not so much of the volume, because obviously it's got more volume in it.
Yeah.
It's because it's got a sump. I find it so much easier with a sump tank than this. This is noisier than the 450 liter tank that I had, because the kit I had, you know, Nano skimmers before, really quiet. The Vectra pump in the sump, so you can get away with a little bit more noise in a sump than all this is out in the open. So it is bizarre. 5-foot tank was quieter than this. It's easier in the 170 because you got the sump. So when I do the water changes, it's out the sump. You lower down. So I find actually it's easy on the maintenance on that tank. The biggest downside between the 450 and this one is when I do a water change, it's like 45 liters compared to 10. So it's a bit more moving stuff around. The stability, absolutely, and the temperature. The 450 in the summer did not move. The temperature hardly moved at all compared to this. But on the flip side, it's the cost, isn't it? And when something goes wrong in a bigger tank, boy, is it a pain in the ass if you've got to do nothing compared to you. If you've got to do a 30-liter water change and you've got to do all that kind of stuff and you've got to start stripping things back, it's a lot more time. Yet with this, if I get a problem, 30 liters, 30% water change, it's...
Yeah, but I kind of sort of... Yeah, I agree with that. But I also would say, going back to a bigger system, it's easier to prevent a problem and deal with a problem quicker, if that makes any sense, in a bigger system. Because you can go with missing a water change or having 9 nutrients for probably a lot longer you can in a smaller system. and fix it. Whereas in a smaller system, you probably won't get away with it for as long. But I think for me, it all boils down to what you're going to put in that tank.
I agree.
You know, some of the tanks I've seen on Instagram, YouTube, you know, the nanos have got SPS in it and Scollies and this like that. Wow, they must be testing their water like 2-3 times a day, you know, to keep some of the corals that they've got in such a small volume of water. But if you've got a larger volume of water, it's a lot more forgiving. Yeah. But it requires a lot more money in the offset and a lot more, I suppose, effort when you are having a day of husbandry or cleaning the tank or whatever. I'd love to do a water change and it'd be 1 barrel of water. Don't get me wrong, instead of a 600 litre vat outside or whatever it is. But it swings and roundabouts. And I think for me, I'm a big advocate of this. It's what suits your lifestyle. Yeah. What have you got time for? What have you got the money to put into the hobby? And that will equal the result.
And what you want to keep.
You've not got the money, you've got the time. There's only so much you can do. You've got loads of money, all the toys in the world, but you can't do a water change or test your water. It's going to go pear-shaped. I know people who've had loads and loads of money, millionaires who've had these amazing systems. They bought all the top-end gear, and it's been a fad. It's lasted 2 weeks, and they've sold it all.
Yeah.
Because they just don't have the time.
Yeah, money, you do need to put time in, and that time vary, won't it? As the tank matures, you have to spend less time on it because it's matured, and also depends on what you keep. I went for a stage of keeping higher end SPS. I just got fed up with it, so I got rid of them because they're less forgiving. Whereas I know that you can leave the tank for a few weeks and it's fine. So I haven't got any SPS in here. I've got LPS. I might put some SPS in there once I get to about 18 months because I know I can put Monties in there. And Monties, I'm not saying they're bulletproof. They're not because anything can die. But they're quite forgiving, aren't they? Compared to I wouldn't put a 10 years or something like that.
10 years, exactly, and that's what I'm on about. There's no way I would dream of getting a Nano and putting Millies and Teniuses and Teniuses and whatever else in because you would have to be observing that tank. I would say,
you've got to be on it all the time.
I mean, Nirian's tank, that's a beautiful tank, isn't it? Nirian and all that.
Yes, absolutely.
For this SPS, mate, and this is it's not a nano tank, it's a smaller tank, isn't it? But it's what do you call it?
70, maybe 200.
100, I think it's 170, something like that. It's not a massive tank.
He's got Trident on it as well. So if he's got Trident on it, if you look at it, he's on it all the time because he knows what he's not all of his parameters, but if you think about SPS, those 3 parameters, keeping them bang on, and then you keep your your nutrients there or thereabouts. They can swing a little bit, but if you can keep your alkalinity and your calcium and magnesium where they need to be, especially alkalinity and stability, then you've got a fighting chance. And you got your flow right, and then you're game on, aren't you? As long as your salinity
exactly.
And the temperature doesn't swing, you're all right.
Yeah. I mean, Steve saw all the blue bottles I've got with the KZ system that I've run on my previous system. I think there's a lot. Let's be honest.
50,
but, I mean,
12, 50.
There's a few. But I've put that, again, each to their own. I've put that into an Excel spreadsheet, as sad as it is, and it's laminated on the inside of this door. I mean, that was on my 625. It's going to be different on this system, but I kind of like that schedule. Every morning I let the dog out, and I make a drink, and I go to the cupboard, and it's like, right, Monday we put 5 ml of this in, and 10 ml of this in, and 4 drops of this in.
That works for you.
That's
my lifestyle. That's what I'm saying. It works for me. So if you're flying, if you're traveling around the UK, or you're working different shifts, or you haven't got the time with kids and whatever else, then don't try and achieve something that isn't realistic given your circumstances. All I'm saying.
Yeah.
Agree,
absolutely.
Totally agree.
I spend more time in this than the 450. The 450 had a big skimmer. I run no pox, and that was it. I had 2 filter socks, and that was pretty much my regime of my filtration. And then I had the 3-part for Red Sea through dosers, and the no pox was in a doser as well. And that was pretty much it. And it's probably the simplest. Other than this, it's the easiest setup. I had no clarity, nothing else like that. I didn't really need to do water changes much when I got to past 18 months. and it worked like a dream. But I just got fed up with that size tank, so that's why I got rid of it, because I was just fed up. So I'm actually enjoying smaller tanks. I suppose at some point I will go back to a bigger tank, probably a 500-600 litre, but I'm not fussed about it. It's not something I can think, yeah, I've got the motivation to go and do that because I'm enjoying smaller tanks. But I'm sure in the future I will go back to that because it goes in cycles. One thing I really want to keep is seahorses. I'd love to have a seahorse tank, but the problem, the number one issue with that is the temperature, because they need to be kept at around about 24 degrees.
Yeah, it's a lot lower.
And that's going to be quite a challenge in the summer. I'm going to need a chiller or an AC for that, because they're going to go up and down. They're really sensitive. So I'll probably get a custom 2x2, quite deep, probably about 300 litres. You've got a decent volume of water, keep nothing else in it, nice big skimmer. But I need to sort the temperature out. And they only last about 2 years anyway, seals. They don't last that long. But it's one I think they're just so majestic. But we'll see one day. That'd be brilliant to have on.
They're nice with some different algae as well. You can grow some nice algae with them, can't you? You've seen different red algae and stuff that people put them in. They look quite cool, to be fair.
And also like the easier gorgonians as well, because obviously it's something for them to grab onto. So have those kind of plants, algae, and those kind of corals that are not going to sulk when a seahorse grips them. That's quite natural. But so if you was recommending to someone a size of tank, and this is kind of really subjective, is it? What would you say to someone go for?
But you know what? It comes down to every point that we just said, doesn't it? Like Tom just said, it's
your lifestyle, your circumstances, your budget, your time, all that. All that
comes down to everything, doesn't it? But I mean, realistically, I would say something like a 250, me. You know, a 250. I think that is bigger than a Nano. It's bigger than a Nano, but it's not as big as like a massive as like a 500, 600. That it's just in the middle of like, it's a decent enough size, 3 foot, decent enough size. You're gonna get a fair bit of coral in there, a fair bit of fish in there, and then it's your choice, then, isn't it? You know what I mean? I think for 250. I think
what we've all got to remember is that when we first started the hobby, we probably ended up with smaller tanks than we've got now.
We did, but I did. I bought a 170 and I had it 6 months, and then I was like, why the hell? And my first impressions were, why the hell did I buy a 170? I should have just bought the 350 and saved myself X amount of money. Yeah. So because I ended up saying I bought that 170 for like what I think it was like 1,200 quid, 1,300 quid, because it was the deluxe kit, and I sold the tank. It was less than 6 months old, and I sold the tank for like 500 quid. You know what I mean? And it was madness, mate. So it was just a waste of money. Do you know what I mean? So it, like you said, it's got to go with like your budget. You've got to research it, like I did. I researched 18 months, to make sure that I was committing to it, And then once I committed, that was it. But in retrospect, what I should have done was I should have just said, I'm buying the 350. I've done my research. I know what I'm going to do. I'm staying in it, and I'm going to buy the 350 instead. That would have saved me money, time, and effort. No. You know what I mean?
I think, to answer your question, Paul, good question. I think a tank that would be big enough to be able to experience the majority of different ways of reefing, and then decide as a result which way you want to go.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So probably like Steve's saying, a 250, a 350 maybe, I think, really for me, because if you've got the bug, you're not going to be like, well, I bought a Nano, I wish I'd have gone bigger. But at the same token, I bought this humongous tank and I don't know what I'm doing and it's too big. So I think somewhere in the middle would be a good start. But let's be honest, when you first get in the hobby, you want a frag of everything.
Yeah, you want to pick a mix. You really do.
You do, don't you?
You have some really weird ones. You think, and I look at some of the coals I put in it was an all-in-one 135 litres, but it was a 3-foot tank. So it was a lovely in terms of size. And I was putting SPS in and everything else. And I learned so much. And that was just kind of like kind of Monty's and Stylopora, things like that. So the easier ones to do. But I learned a hell of a lot in that first 12 months. I mean, I didn't have an auto top up. I used to wait for it to drain down, and then I'd put a bucket of water of about 8 litres of auto top up of our own. I'm thinking that's like 8%, that's 7-8% of water. I'm just chucking in the back. And nothing, and no wonder the SPS soaked all the time, because the stability on that was just kind of like, you know.
I think one of the first tanks we had was an Aqua One, an Aqua One 400, I think, something like that. Aqua 500, 300, 400 litres. You know, second hand. You know, first tank. And I don't know where this craze came from, but everything was about filling your tank with rock. The more live rock meant somebody somewhere had this concept that the more live rock you put in meant the more corals you could have. I don't know why, but they just did. So the tank was just full of live rock. It was like a cliff face.
Yeah, I had that.
Absolutely horrendous. Honestly,
have a look at my channel to my very first video, mate. You'll absolutely laugh at it. So it's honestly what it.
Yeah.
And I got all these corals. You know, I didn't know about the play. We talk about placement and par, and I didn't know any of that. I was literally just putting them. Oh, that looks nice with that, and I put that there with that. And then one day I bought we bought an M. We bought a bull tip. Bought bull tip M, and I put it where I wanted to put it. It didn't want to be where it wanted to be, because that's what they do sometimes. And it just during the night decided, I don't want to be here. I want to be over there, and it stung. God knows how many corals, and killed them all. And I was just like, what on earth is going on?
Yeah, exactly. I think if there's anything that I will like you said there, Tom, I think if there's anything about rubble and all that, one thing when I do get a new tank and a start again sort of thing, a reset, is like there's 100% is I will design or have somebody design like a rock skate for me, for what I'm going to be specifically doing, because that's the biggest thing, like you say, is where people go wrong, is they just like, they put the rock and they don't really think of what's going to go on it. They just say, oh, that looks a nice shape. But in reality, you don't look at like the flow of it. You don't look at like what fish you're going to have. Are you going to have like fish that needs to have hidey holes and stuff like that? You know, and that was my biggest mistake.
Yeah. Now, as nice as that looks, you know, and all compliments aside, when you look at a coral reef, do you look at the rock that the corals are on, or do you look at the coral? You don't. You look at the coral.
And they grow out,
you know, so you know, as nice as it looks, and you know, again, hopefully in 2, 3, 4 years' time, you won't see it. So what does it matter?
Won't. No, you're right.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If
you won't see it.
If it does if it does the purpose, or if it, you know, of making sure there's enough room and flow, and you know, for fish and everything else, detritus, etc., then it served its purpose, hasn't it? No matter how designer it looks.
I agree. So I think I would go for probably the 170, which I know you had, Steve, but I think that's easier to run than this. If someone had the budget and the room, I think the 170 is easier to set up and to run than this tank, because it's got the sump. Although, you know, I'd stayed away from the sump of my first tank because I thought, well, that looks really complicated. So I went for an all-one because it just looked easy to set up. And there's a good comment in here about, you know, if I started with 100 gallon, I'd have packed it up. My 20 gallon was easy. This is a pain, but I've now got the bug. So it's that kind of balance that if it's too complicated. And I think also on the other side, you know, do you learn more of a nano? If things are going wrong in your nano and you've just started out, are you more likely then to pack it up? So I think the key is what you've done, Steve. You've done loads of research. And then you pitch for the 170. I mean, if you've done your research, then I think you're onto a good start, because whether it's a 170 or 250 or this nano, the principle is the same, but what you do will be the same across all
the
of
principle is the same,
I think one thing that that beginners are going to obviously again not probably be aware of is to talk to, if you're fortunate enough to know somebody that's been in the hobby, even if it's for a couple of years, doesn't matter how long they've been in the hobby, they will give you a no bullshit, you know, of what the hobby's like to be in, you know, because I'm not going to. When you go into certain shops, I'm not going to mention any names. It's no different to buying a car, kitchen, whatever. You know, they want you to buy something. because they've got to pay their overhead. It's a business, you know. We all get that.
Yeah,
but I just think it's
sure.
if you can speak to somebody in the hobby that can give you an unbiased opinion of, you know, what do you want to do, what do you want to achieve. We've got somebody that me and a friend of mine that wants to get in the hobby, you know, and he's itching to get a tank on finance, and I'm like, why? Just go and get a second-hand tank, couple hundred quid, couple hundred quid. Yeah. See if you've got the time for it. We'll give you a couple of LPS to, you know, when it's ready, get you a little bit of live rock, get it seeded. And if you've got time for it, happy days. But if you haven't, then you sell it and you probably lose 100 quid, you know, as opposed to £1,000, you know, let's be honest.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so I think for me, second time round, it'd be just talk to somebody that's been in the hobby, but listen to them, because I spoke to loads of different shops and people and I didn't listen. I rushed it. You know, I wanted everything very quickly. And you learn from your mistakes, don't you?
Yeah, you do, absolutely. Some other comments here. I like having a 200 litre, being able to dose just all for reef. Nice and simple. Absolutely. The all for reef, I do.
To be honest, it's a good product. It's underrated.
It's absolutely brilliant.
To be honest, like you said, like those Red Sea, that's what they brought out. They brought out, like, they had the 170, didn't they? And that was like the older tanks, wasn't it? And then they brought out the 200. It was the 200 and 300, wasn't it? They named it a different thing or whatever. Yeah, the 200 and 300. Now, a 200, like NG Reefer there said, a 200 litre is a nice one, mate, to be fair, as well, isn't it? You know what I mean? So, you know, it's a nice size. You know, absolutely. And like you said, I love that. I love that all free when I was using it on my Nano. That, and I've said it to you, Anna, Paul, loads of times. Like, anything up to 200, 250 litres for that all for reef, the liquid ball, perfect. It just keeps it so stable. It's a brilliant product, you know, in that sense. And I suppose if you mix it yourself, to be fair, you know what I mean? If you want to mix it and all that, I don't think there's any harm.
Absolutely. I've been doing it on the 170 now for probably about 18 months. And it was recommended when we first started doing the live streams.
Yeah.
Through Julie and Haley, and so many people were using all for reef. I haven't really used it. And so, you know, the fact you've got one dosing pump and you just fill it up, and I moved from liquid to the powder. I know you've got to mix it yourself, but from a cost point of view, it's so economical.
Oh, it's so
and it puts all of your minor elements in there as well. So I think when I used the Red Sea one, I did the ABC, especially when I had the other tank, and then I would dose the ABCD, the colours, which is your minors, which is good because you do it according to your calcium. So you had something to peg it against. But when I looked about that, I had to do manually dosing every day, plus I had the free, and then this all for reef, just bang, one pump and you're sorted.
The test kit as well for that, Paul, is really expensive, if I remember from memory. For the foundation, is it right? Or is that that's the added trace elements? I think it's about £65 for the test kits for the extra.
Oh, right, yeah. So I actually bought the test kit for the potassium.
That's the one. About,
and I used it 3 or 4 times. You know, with nitrate and things like it's nice and easy. And you had the potassium. You had to pour it through, you know, some bits of paper. And you had to I just said no. And in the end, the Red Sea one was easy. My calcium dose is X per day. Therefore, you dose the A, B, C, D of this per week. And that's how you do it. But for all for reef, but actually with all for reef, I have got a video coming out next Friday. I did an interview with Louis. So, you know, Lou came onto the live stream ages ago, Steve.
Yeah, Louis.
So I interviewed him 3 weeks ago to talk about all for reef. So I've just
interesting.
So
from Tropic Marine.
Yeah, so it's got a 25
Louis
video talking about the top 5 questions that he's asked about all for reef. So I learned quite a lot about it, even though I've been using it for quite a while. So I'm just finishing the editing.
He knows his stuff, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
He knows his stuff, doesn't
he put me right on as well, and I'm no expert on it. So it was, for me, it was really good. I just thought I'd do something different. So I emailed him and said, "Do you fancy coming on me to interview for a little while, and I'll stick it on the channel?" And I just thought, like, top 5 questions. So
that'd be good, mate. Sure, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And if that
works, to get in front of him,
other people I want to talk.
I watched him on BRS. He knows quite. He knows what. Yeah, he knows a lot.
Yeah, he knows.
He knows. It was it. To be fair, it was Lou that was talking a lot about carbon dosing. Obviously, which is what I'm doing on here, and it's how he explains it is brilliant. It's really good.
Yeah, no, it's really good. He puts it into really simple language. Because sometimes you listen to something and I'm thinking, I haven't got a clue what you're talking about. because it just feels like a chemistry lesson, which it probably is. Obviously, it is, and I'm really basic on that side, but I'm cool with that. But yeah, that's for next week. Right, let's see. So anything else in terms of large tank, small tank? I'm just going to go through some comments. Right, let's have a look what we've got here. So there's a good question. Do you agree fish need somewhere to hide and sleep? So rock is essential.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
Definite.
It's a natural instinct.
100%.
A natural instinct. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially when they start.
My fox face, is for some strange reason he goes when the lights go out. Have you ever seen a fox face at night time when they turn like multicolored? They turn completely like weird colours, don't they? It's like they turn to a camouflage.
Really?
Strange, mate. Really creepy. Yeah. Even my missus is like, what the hell? Goes and what it does is it goes where near where the stylo is, and it goes and there's a crack just between it, and what it does is it goes to it and it reverse parks into it. It goes in and it backs up, and it just literally sits in like that and just bobs. You know what I mean? Like literally there, and it's just its head, and it's just right between the rock. You know what I mean? As well as the style of border. It's just fascinating, and he stays there all night, mate. I don't think he comes out. You know what I mean? He just stays there, does what he does, sleeps or whatever. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, regal tangs do that as well quite often. I've had regal tangs before that have gone in and slept horizontal. Yeah, in between.
Horizontal, he just sleeps like that. I couldn't believe it. I was like gobsmacked.
Yeah. I've had it, and sometimes they wedge themselves. So when I tried to get the regal out of the tank and I broke it down,
they can hurt themselves. They can rub on rocks.
Into that, absolutely at an angle. It was really difficult. And when I had a vampire tang, which I love, one of my favorite tangs, when they get stressed, they turn black. So they're kind of grey, kind of petrol blue outline. But if it was a tank, it would go totally black. It wouldn't necessarily.
What was it like with garlic, Paul?
With garlic.
He's quite a little vampire.
Yeah. I got it just about.
Sorry.
Actually, when he got white spot, I think I put some garlic in and it was fine, to be fair.
It was all right.
Yeah, it was. On that occasion, the one time it got ick, it was fine. But I think going back to the rock, because I had a sea of rock, to be fair.
Yeah.
But you didn't see it because it was all the coal. And the tangs would go in one end and they'd kind of go and they could come out the other end. And so therefore there was very little aggression across the tangs, and there were two big tangs in the end, a regal and a vampire. And I think because they had their own areas, they could go and hide. And then when I had the spring of damsels, again, they had their own little positions, little rocks, and they would go and hide in. So that helped them. And they didn't drift out of those areas at all. And wrasse are quite quick, so they would swim all around the areas and they wouldn't get caught. Yeah. I think if those damsels, if there weren't as much rock, I think that's when you got the aggression and they would have took one another out. But because there were so many places they could call their own, and at feeding time, all bets are off. They all go all over the place, don't they? Because it's just food. But definitely, I would say it's really important, depending on the fish as well. So I got a cherub angel here, and the middle of that is hollow, because I know they like to hide and they like to skirt around the rocks. So I did that deliberately because I wanted to get a cherub so that it could dart in and out all the time. Yeah. So again, it can go zigzag in and out and go from top to bottom quite easily as well. So I've done that deliberately on that time. And the floating aquascape is hollow in the middle. So again, if the fish are scared, they can swim from the bottom through it or can come down from the top. Yeah. So it looks like just like a lump of rock, but it's not, because they can just hide when they want to. So I think it's really important.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree with that.
What else we got here? We've got absolutely design escape for animals, not for Instagram.
Very true. Very true.
I believe you gain more knowledge, much more knowledge with multiple tanks. I suppose if you've got lots of different tanks, whether that you chop and change, you have to reef in a different way. So the way I reef on this is very different to how I did in the bigger tank. And also you can try different methods, can't you, as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, it boils down to how much time you've got. How much time you can commit to the hobby. And not just once, not just 1 day a month on a regular basis. It's the frequency, isn't it? To pick up on things and deal with things. And if you haven't got that time, I question what you want to achieve with a hobby and whether it's realistic or not. For me, that's what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Agree.
Fair enough. Right, let's see else what we've got here. Absolutely no room in my flat. That's fair enough. And I've got to say, I mean, I've got 3 tanks at the moment. I'm probably going to close one down because it's taking too much of my time, and I've
done it, Paul. It's a ball ache.
I just don't want 3 tanks anymore.
Yeah,
so
it starts to take the fun out of it a little bit. Yeah. 100%.
I just got to decide what coals I keep and what coals I go. So that's the problem. But what I'll probably do is give some away to some people I know. And then if I want those coals back, as long as I haven't killed them, then I'll get a piece. I've done that with the bigger tank.
I'm definitely going to have one in the garage when this is up and running for quarantine and for frags, because I need that, if I've got anything that I'm concerned about, I can deal with it separately. Yeah, quarantine. Yeah. And anything that I'm bringing in is going to go through that quarantine system before it goes in there. But I've had 3 systems running at once, and it was a nightmare. It was absolutely, to start with, this is what I'm saying. It was if you're fortunate enough and you can have that you've got the space and you've got the funds to do it, great. But what you don't realize while you're going through that sort of honeymoon period, or whatever you want to call it, is the amount of time and dedication you've got to give to it if you want to achieve those results. And you can't cry and spilt milk 3 months down the line if it's gone wrong, if you've only been giving it an hour a week. You can't.
Absolutely. I was in AAC today, and we was talking about that around summer months. I don't do as much in the summer months. You got other things, but I think I don't do a lot, but I still clean the glass, do the testing, make sure everything's full up in terms of the elements and stuff like that. So whilst I think I'm not doing it much, I'm still doing what I think is the basics. I haven't done the water changes much, but I'm still making sure the parameters are where they are, feeding, cleaning, making sure the dosing hasn't run out, blah, 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 blah. That kind of thing, which you can argue is your kind of 101, isn't it? That's the very least.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds, our lifestyle in this house is Saturday is the doing day where things get done, cleaned, fixed, bought, whatever, and Sunday's the chill out day. So, and that's again down to everybody's lifestyle. So the tank is part of Saturday's regime, and that's it, and that's what it will be moving forward. And
that's why I like. Whereas that's why I like automation and very little to do, because my lifestyle is 7 days a week, shifts whenever, like early, late, semi-late, middle, splits. Like bush driving is like one of the worst jobs you can ever have, I think, if you've got a reef tank. Do you know what I mean? Because there's just like say for instance, like you're doing, like you've got your KZs and stuff like so if you're dosing manually, and it has to be during the day, or it has to be in the evening, or whatever, or the morning, I might be on an early, so I could do it, no problem, but if I'm on a late, I won't be able to do it because I'm not here, and my missus will not do that sort of stuff. So that's the reason why I like dosing for me, and running multiple doses and stuff like that. I have to do that because otherwise there's nobody here. Well, my missus wouldn't do it anyway. She just wouldn't do it. She's frightened to death in case she does something that can basically end it.
You've created a schedule that works for your lifestyle and your tank, and your tank's brilliant. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it works.
Absolutely.
But it didn't happen straight away. It took time.
Oh, mate.
Exactly.
Like you said. I mean, if you look at mine, mine is literally 5 years old now. It's 5 years old. So, it's that's why I don't do anything on my tank. You know what I mean? In fairness, I clean the glass, like you said. I clean the glass, I feed the fish. Yeah, I do. I don't get me wrong. I've got a chart like you, not a spreadsheet, and not as more in depth as yours, Tom. Yeah, but I've got a little spreadsheet. Yeah, and it's got every 3 months, do the pump clean. My pump, my return pump every 3 months, and then every 6 months I do a deep clean of the sump, like I did before, cleaning it, sucking all the detritus, taking out the pump which runs my UV. Cleaning all that out, do you know what I mean, and that stuff. So I do maintenance on it, but not every 3 months or so. But I have been cleaning the wave makers more. You know what I mean? So to be fair, because I read that even with a little bit of algae on it, it can reduce energy by 50%. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, whoa. Yes, just by a bit of algae on the pumps, on the impellers and stuff, can reduce it overall by 50%. So I was like, wow. But I've got to admit, when I clean the gyre, and I deep cleaned it, and I put it in the citric acid, and I stuck it on me. I didn't do anything. It literally blew the bloody water out of the tank, mate. And I was like, I've not changed the pump power. It just went, and it's like waves like that on top of it, and I had to turn it down. So it just and fair enough, I've not cleaned that for about two and a bit months. So, you know, I have got to the routine now where I'm going to clean them every month, just give them a bit of a scrub, not a citric thing, just a bit of a scrub with a brush, and then put them back in and just hopefully keep on top of it. You know what I mean?
It's a good point. You're using the same electricity, yet the efficiency will go down. So you're just burning, and it may be a small amount of money. And that's why I like about the vortex. You can just pop them off. I put them in citrix for an hour, scrub them with a toothbrush, clean them off with RO. They go back on in an hour. They're salty, but you're right. It makes such a big difference when they go back on. And you think,
make such a difference.
Why didn't I do that earlier?
And
it makes such a big difference. Even if you've got them out every couple of weeks and just use a toothbrush on them, you'd probably just keep them in the shape they need to be. But, there we go. Right, I've got quite a few comments. So let's go through some comments. So, Core Essentials. 46 people. There were 46 people to 42 watching, only 16 likes. What about a freebie if we get to 30 likes? So are you volunteering, or have I got to cough up something? I'm trying to think what I could do that everyone want. I will.
What a freebie.
So I will, if we get tight, well, I'll have to make the time. I'll have to do the roulette, won't I? So Steve, so what Core Essentials shall I give away? And I will find out. So don't pick an expensive one. So what about the CV? Should I do the CV? Is it CV?
CVE is one of the best, mate. CVE is one of the best, mate. I love it. I love that one, But I think that's a good shout. Good shout.
Okay, so
it's put it at the bottom. He's put it at the bottom, Connell.
I'll provide it.
I'll provide it. He'll provide it. Oh, fair play.
Right, so it's 5 bottles. I
think it should be something that somebody's not tried before, maybe, that wants to give it a bit of a go. That's not going to have a massive issue to the tank.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
So we'll do that. So we'll do something in about 10 minutes, and it is I don't know if this is right, a Core Essential product of your choice.
Of your choice, yeah. So whatever you choose, that's a good
of them. So you pick some, and if it's too much money, I will contribute towards it.
There we go. At the bottom.
So we'll do that. Where we go? What have we got? We've got CVE.
So it says CVE plus
Amino
and Grow Ready.
Why not just put it on the screen? That would be easier rather than me reading it out, wouldn't it? Wait a minute. Let's go down to the bottom. I'll come back to the other comments. Right. So here we go. CVE plus, Amino plus, Ready, Coral
Power Food,
Calcium Reactor 1. Right, so we're going to do that at about
Calcium Reactor 1 and 2. I need to look at that.
About 1/4
It's a new product that's just come out. It's come out with the Amino and the Grow. It's just come out. I'm not 100% sure on it because obviously I don't use it, but I've hooked the Amino up to the Versa. I'm running that now. Just started running that, and I've got to buy another pump for the Grow. But the problem I'm having is I've not got any plug sockets, so that's the issue I've got. So it looks like I'm gonna have to unplug one of them, and buy a whole bar of Versa pumps or something. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have to do that again at some point. I think it's just madness, mate. Because the Versa pumps, you can run all four. You can run all four, can't you, on one plug? So it's perfect. You know what I mean? But but CVE is class. I love that. Since I've been using it, I say it time and time again. I absolutely love it, mate. It's coloured up the colours on the corals immensely. You know what I mean? It's a really good product. I love it.
I've been using it on the 170 as well. And I've got to say the coloration of the corals, a combination of everything, all for reef, stability. It's been running for 2.5-3 years now. The CVE, and you just got into that routine. And the colours have been the best that I've seen in that tank.
It does something, mate. It's fantastic. Great product.
Absolutely. Right, let's go through some comments because we haven't got long before I have to do the compo. Right, so dread what Paul's going to give out as for likes. So we've got that sorted already. I dose Ultra Reef, and I've got to say, I dose Ultra Reef manually on this tank every so often. I've got to say, I forget from day to day, so it's not the best. if I start getting lots of corals in there, I'm going to have to get a doser. So I've been leaving it down to chance. I know there's a few people. I know Carl also doses manually, but I just can't do it. Here we go here. Being fairly new to the hobby when I started, I found the reefer community videos on YouTube so valuable in helping me. Yeah, instructions, reviews, absolutely. Another one, all for reef for the win. Absolutely. There's one for you, Steve. He's posing for OnlyFans.
You know what? I'm posing like this, but because I apologies for being late. I didn't say why I was late. I don't know whether you mentioned.
No,
Paul.
I said you was at Manchester Arena getting autographs as usual.
No. I wasn't that lucky, mate. Manchester is just absolutely gridlocked. It's just a hell on earth. It's a nightmare. So that's the reason why I was late. But no,
I've got to pay for his new tank ball, haven't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've got to pay for it somehow. Yeah.
Or is that the fish?
Not really a bus driver.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Don't get paid enough. Enough.
You're doing the wrong thing then, Steve.
I know.
Right, swiftly on. Pete, completely agree. I have been up, you know what, Crete without a paddle, without them. That's the YouTube videos. Lou certainly does know his stuff.
Oh, definitely.
100%. My fox looks like he's been in a house fire.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they
go really strange colour, you know. A really, really strange colour. Mine goes like white, grey, and then you see a little bit of yellow, black. It's just creepy, mate. It's a weird colour what they turn. But it's obviously a camouflage in it, you know, to keep predators away, I'm assuming. You know what I mean? Great how they do it.
For sure. It's going back to the aquascapes and minimalist rock. For us, not the fish. Ryan from BRS. Yeah, I can remember he was pushing. They were pushing, weren't they? Minimalist rock aquascape.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they changed and done a U-turn on it around having, you know, caves and enough space.
Yeah, they did.
On what fish you've got.
Yeah.
Also, what algae magnet does everyone run or recommend? So I've got the have I got Tunzi? I'm sure I've got I've got the flipper, which is not Tunzi, is it?
No.
So I've got you probably can't see that. So I've got the
you got the flipper Nano.
And these ones the newer ones, they do actually float as well. So that helps.
The flipper float, I have the flip. I did have the flipper. I did have the older flipper, but you know, the one that didn't float. And then, but then I went to buy the flipper float, and they didn't have any in stock. Well, then Steve from Cracker Corals was saying, try the Tunzi one. I've got to admit, the Tunzi one is fantastic, mate. Obviously, it doesn't float, but it's a really good, it's really good scraper.
Is it the Tunzi Care Magnet?
Yeah, thinking it. Let's see.
I mean, I'll put you on solo.
Yeah. That's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
Is it good?
That's the one. It's really good, mate. Yeah, it is.
I'm thinking about, well, Mick's just said, I'll talk to Mick about it, because obviously the last thing I wanted was to have a, 2.8 meter piece of glass and Mick say, "Oh, you've scratched it because you've done this and you should have done that." So I said to her, what am I cleaning your glass with, Michael? Basically, and he said Tunzi. So I was like, okay, we'll give it a go. I've not had one before, so it's going to be new for me. Yeah, I've always used the flippers.
Really good, to be fair.
Absolutely. Right, we've got another question. So I've never used UV before, but I think if I set up a bigger tank with tangs again, I would have a UV. But so over to you two guys, because I've never had any experience of them.
I would never run a tank without one. I've always had one on. Always. I had one on my 170, and I've had one on this. You know what I mean? Bit of a faff changing the bulbs every 6 months. But you know what? I mean, touch wood. I don't know what to jinx myself, but none of my fish have ever got like any illnesses real. I've never lost any to like make like it or velvet or anything like that. And whether it's got something to do with the UV, maybe not. I don't know. But it's just for peace of mind. You know what I mean? I've just always some of that I've just always had on it, and I don't think I'd ever not have a UV on it. To be fair, you know what I mean?
Do you run your flow rate for the fish
Yeah,
or
for
for
what-
algae?
for what
Because
it
you
says.
can it's different. You dial it into different rates, then you depending on
Yeah,
what
there's
you're
two
trying
different ways of doing it.
to
Yeah.
take out.
Yeah.
That's all I know
Pathogens
about
and-
it. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So about you, Tom, because you've got.
Well, it's the
UV on
second
there, haven't
tank
you?
I've run it on. I
Got a
ran it
dual
on.
one.
Pardon?
You got a dual one, ain't you? On yours, on your
Yeah,
is it a dual one?
I've got two Choptronics on it. Yeah, I ran it on. I ran UV on one of my first ever systems. I'll be honest with you. It was again. So I said earlier. I was going through a phase of. It looked good. It looked cool. I bought one. You know, couldn't really comment on what it did, what it didn't do. My circumstances have changed now. I'll keep going on about it like a stuck record with the fish, but for me, it's that what you say, Steve. It's that peace of mind. I won't be running it 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
Yeah.
Because you know, I want to create and then sustain an ecosystem in that water. I don't want the UV to affect that. But at the same token, I don't want the bad guys to overtake the good guys in a sense. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm running it. But yeah, I think again the question there is: it a necessity? Depends on your circumstances. Depends on the application. Depends on what you're trying to achieve. Depends on what you've got in the system.
Yeah.
So, on a small system with a couple of fish and a couple of LPS, for example, I'd probably say no. If you've got a lot of fish, and some fish are probably a little bit more susceptible to, white spot ick, etc., then I'd probably say yeah. But at the same time, it depends on your circumstances and the application. So I think you've got to look at what you're trying to achieve and if it's necessary.
Yeah,
I think that's fair enough. Horses
fair
and
enough.
horses, isn't it? Right, let's see what I've got. There's a few
sure.
people voting for CVE there. One for you there, Steve. Woody's got a spare Versa base.
Oh, hey mate, it might be hitting you up for that. You never know. You know what? I do. I definitely need more because the more and more things that keep coming out. Like I said, I was dosing manually with a dropper bottles, but I absolutely hate it. And I'm like you, Paul. I forget. I do it, and then I'm like, God, I've not dosed after 2 days, and I'm like, oh mate, because of my life, and that's just what it is. If I could run it on a doser and set it and forget it, that's what needs to be done, mate, and that's what I do. So, hey, we'll do it. Nice one, mate. I appreciate it. I'll potentially get that off you.
Because one of the things you said, I can't remember, it was on a live stream or one of your videos. You said about getting a trident, didn't you?
I was gonna.
When he came to see me, I think when he saw mine.
I was thinking, where are you going to put that? I know they're smaller than that. But where the hell are you going to put that?
Well, this is the thing, you see, because the cabinet here at the side of me, yeah. My cabinet at the side of me,
a bigger tank, Steve.
My missus has got all the drinks and all that in there, like the Christmas spirits and all that, yeah. And I'm like, those Christmas spirits are going to be coming out of there, and I could potentially put it inside that cabinet because I measured it and drill the back of it out, drill the back of the base out, yeah.
Yeah.
And she was just like shaking her head, you know what I mean, like my missus. But you know what? I've got a good understanding missus, just like Tom has and yourself, Paul. Yeah. And you know what? She likes the tank. She loves the tank. So if I needed to and I wanted to, I could get one for sure. You know what I mean? But yeah, I just have to buy her a new handbag or something, to please her and all that, mate. You know what I mean? But
yeah, a question I'd like to ask you tonight is what is the biggest sort of moan that everybody's spouses have with their tanks in the hobby? I'd like to know.
I know what yours. I reckon I know what your missus would be or would have been. I know what yours is anyway. Yeah. I'm not going to tell. I know what yours is.
Because it's a lot of people. Everybody spends a lot of time on the tanks. Especially at a weekend. And I'd be curious to know what everybody's other half's biggest bugbear is with the hobby.
Let me go.
You go first then.
Sorry, Paul. No, you go, Paul. You go.
So
I know what mine is.
Why have we got this shit small tank here? Why did you get rid of the 5 foot tank? This is rubbish. There's no collar. And Jill's down the other end listening now, so she's now laughing about it because she can't stand this tank. So, I don't know. I don't know if anyone's on that side. Gil's now coming onto the live stream.
Hello.
Hi, Jill.
Down the tank. So it's good because when I want to go for a bigger tank, there's no problem. If I want to do a 6-foot peninsula or whatever, then it's game on.
Right, okay.
So it's me who's holding back from getting a bigger tank.
Really? Right, okay.
Yeah. Mine was, but she doesn't do it no more because I use a famous water company for buying my water. Was when I had my RO system, I always kept on forgetting to switch the RO off, and it used to flood the kitchen. So for my missus was like, no chance. We was nearly breaking up, mate. That's how bad it got because I kept on forgetting, to switch it off. And I'd leave it, I'd go to bed and would wake up in the middle, like come down, and it was flooding all the kitchen. So like she was like, no, that's it. No chance. You better find somewhere else. You know what I mean? To do it. So yeah. So then I went to I changed it, and I don't do my own water now. I get it from my famous good friend, Mr. Spotless, and that's perfect, mate. Never had an issue. She moans all the time.
I've opened Pandora's box here tonight, I think, by asking that question. But
yeah. You know what? Fair play, Scott. Yeah.
Absolutely. Quite a few comments.
No, Kaz's biggest issue is the smell. So, it's a smell. So that's why there's no filter roller on this system. She's like a sniffer dog, to be fair to her, when it comes to anything like that.
Yeah,
so
but you know what, though? I couldn't understand that because, the filter roller on mine, it doesn't smell, mate. I can't smell it. Your missus must have the most sensitive, sensitive nose. She must have the most sensitive nose ever, mate. Because I could, honest to God, that's incredible, mate. I couldn't believe that when you told me that. I was like, what, smell it? You was like, yeah. I was like, wow, that is crazy, mate. Never. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a mix, but I think for the fact that everyone in here has got tanks, they can have support. Because if you're not, you probably wouldn't have a tank.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is a great hobby, to be fair. Frustrating, but a great hobby. Right, I think we're going to do
competition.
I got to say this one. I have a habit of choosing to clean the skimmer she's eating.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've done that one before. Yeah, I've done that before. I've done that before in the kitchen, and it's just like, what the?
Oh. Yeah, now that smells me. Now that, fair play. Yeah.
Right. So
that's my thing.
Yeah. We are going to now do the giveaway, shall I say? So, Steve, do you want to pick a word? I want to pick a phrase for people to put in, and I'm gonna let you two guess while I do the phrase. While I do the Wheel of Fortune.
Yes. So what was it have to be then? What did he have to say? That's
the question.
Hey?
That's the question.
What did he have to say? Tom, go on. What do you reckon? What did he have to say? What did he have to say to be in with it? Let's say.
I'll tell you what. Give me tomorrow. Give me tomorrow night.
I'll tell you what. No. The wife's always right. Put that.
The wife's always right.
The wife's always right.
Yeah, and the more they say it, the bigger the tank they can have. That's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, the wife's always right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, the wife's always right. Yeah, say that. To be in it, to win it. That's a good one. Yeah, the wife's always right.
The wife's always right.
Yeah.
Karen's
so obviously while you're doing that, anybody who wants to put any comments below, or anything like that, or a question or whatever, I'll obviously see it, read it, and then say it. So there's one there. Rick said, "Are fox faces reef safe? Looking for a centerpiece fish to finish the tank off, roughly the same dimensions as the Reefer 350. Absolutely, mate. I got my fox face. I've had 2 fox faces. Never had an issue. Never myself, to be honest. They've always been.
The thing I would say about foxface, they can get really, really timid, really, really scared if you start putting your nose up to the glass and moving stuff about. They can get stressed quite easily. So Yeah,
I agree.
Just be aware
But my
of that.
fox face, for some strange reason, like you see them in the shops and they're like beautiful and yellow. My fox face has always been black since I got it. You know, on the black, like all halfway down his body, it's always been black. Now, when I researched it, it said like sometimes that's a sign of like they're stressed, that they're not eating, you know, things like that. But there's nothing further from the truth in my tank, because at the time we only had 6 fish,
Yeah.
Sorry, no, 5 fish. The clownfish stayed to their side because they were always laying eggs, so they didn't really bother. The foxface just swam around. I've got 1 Bengal cardinal, a mandarin, a 6-line wrasse, and that was it. So none of them were irritating it, or he wasn't in trouble or distressed in any way, shape, or form. He's just stayed black, and he's fat as anything. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I really don't know whether they change colours to get older or what. I don't know. Well, I really don't have a clue. Do you know what I mean? But even when I look at him now, he's still black. You're all halfway along his body. Do you know what I mean? But he's fat as anything, mate. And he goes round. I feed him algae. I feed him the algae sheets, the nori sheets, every other day. You know what I mean? He's always eating that. You know. So
that's what I'm saying. If he's happy and he's eating, he's happy, isn't it? Yeah. That's it.
It's mad. Yeah, it's mad, mate.
You know,
it's crazy. It is, because, like I said, it's strange how some of them, like one of my mates, he's got one and it's so bright. It's the brightest yellow you could ever see, mate. It's insane. And I'm like, mine's nothing like that. Mine just looks really, really dull compared, but it's healthy for sure.
The one I've got in the garage, it's not the yellow one. It's the opposite one. You know, like the grey white one with the rose tip dorsal.
Yeah.
That's the one I've got in the garage at the minute. I can't remember the species of it, the name of it, but yeah, that's the one I've got. But yeah, you're right. They just you go in and look, and they just like freeze, don't move.
Yeah, they just freeze, mate.
Freeze.
Yeah.
Everybody else is screwing around.
Right, so we need
John
further down. 5 more likes, because it's on. I think it's on 25 from what I can see.
Come on,
guys! Come on, you need to,
and then
click the like.
You got to be neat to win it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the wife's always right. Absolutely. Let's have a look. So yeah, John Wright further down has put Riggsy 69. He had to get rid of his because had to get rid of my toadstool coral as he had started to eat it. So he'd started to eat his toadstool. Wow, that's unusual.
Fox face.
Yeah, crazy.
Really?
He must have meant it. Yeah, must have meant a fox face. Cottage put living alone. I have no issues. Cars, motorbikes, reef tanks, you name it. Hey mate, you've got the right idea.
Living the dream.
That's it. My missus has always said, yeah, you'll get rid of me before you got rid of your tank. And I think she wanted me to say, no, we'll never do that. And I went, you're absolutely right, mate.
Yeah.
I would do, probably. So yeah,
that conversation's happened in this household many a time. That's the fish are more important than me. The fish get more time than I get.
Yeah.
The fish get more money spent on them than I get. Yeah, all that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've had that, mate. Yeah, the tank gets more money than I get spent on me. Yeah, I've had that one. That's for sure.
The key is to get the wife into the hobby, and then the wife can say, I like that coral. Let's get that one. I like that fish. Let's get that.
Well, to be honest, yeah, she my missus, yeah, as much as she not goes on, yeah, because she does like, she knows it's a passion of mine, and she knows I love like it's my passion, you know, reef tanks and stuff, yeah. But like when we go to the shop, she always goes out to me, come on, we'll go to the fish shop, yeah, we'll just go for a look. That's the famous last words, not women saying it, yeah, we'll just go for a look. Just like I went to look at a car, yeah, and ended up walking away with a brand new car. You know what I mean? That's like what it is. So we go to the shop and she'll go, oh, that's lovely. That's really nice. Oh, isn't that beautiful? And I go, oh, it is. And she'll go, why don't you get it? And I'm like, so I've got no space in my tank to get it. You know what I mean? Where am I going to put it? Oh, you'll find space. Then 2 days later, if I buy it, guess what happens? You've got no space in your tank. You need to get rid of some. I'm like, I just give up. Not arguing, you know. I'm just gonna let her get on with it, and let her say her piece. You know what I mean? But
our anniversary present for the last 5-6 years has been a coral or a fish.
Yeah, that's what mate. My
That's
birthday.
when you know you've got a keeper.
Christmases. Yeah, my birthdays and Christmases. Yeah, my missus just goes like, "What do you want for your tank?" That is what she says, mate. That's what she says. What do you want for your tank? So I've got everything. You know what I mean? What do I need? What do I need?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't need anything.
I bought Kaz a handbag once for his anniversary, and then she bought me a piece of toast.
Yeah.
A fair exchange.
Yeah. 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 It is. It's. But you know what though? I suppose in a way, yeah, having a partner who like shares in your interest in a sense, yeah, and like doesn't mold it. If you had a partner who hated it, yeah, and who was always moaning about it and stuff like, I don't think you could stay in the hobby because you just be arguing over it, you know what I mean, and stuff like.
It'll be difficult. It's not cheap.
You wouldn't have a partner.
No, that's true.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I wouldn't have a partner, mate, for sure. But yeah, it's good that, like I said, yours, Paul's, mine, Jay's, they're supportive in a sense of like, they know it's our hobby, it's what we love to do, and you know what I mean, and that's it. And like you said, and it's an easy Christmas present to buy them. You just say, let's go to the LFS store, and you go, sweet, let's go, off we go, and that's what I do, mate. So
unwrapping a bag of cardboard on Christmas Day.
Yeah, I've had that. And test kits.
Yeah.
Coral glue.
Oh, some test kits. Yeah, you got some test kits and coral glue and got coral flag plugs. Yeah,
living the dream.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right, we need one more like. So
one more like. Come on, guys. Who's not liked it? Have I not liked it? Have I not liked it?
I like it.
I've no idea. I've got 29. I have to keep on refreshing because there's a bit of a lag on it. So I need one more, and then once we've got that one more, we can. We got 30. So we're there.
Are we good?
Yeah,
you got it.
It shows, and John said it shows 30 as well. So I'm going to give it one more in case anyone else wants to enter. And then I'll put it on the screen just so that people can check to make sure I haven't forgotten anyone.
Yeah.
And then we'll go. And Jay will be kicking himself that he can't enter. He moans about why can't he enter.
Well, he's originally from my neck of the woods, so he's tighter than a duck's backside, as they say.
Well,
so
he's worse than that by then some.
Oh yes.
Oh dear, bless him.
Right. Okay. So I think we are done. So I'm going to share screen.
I hope you put Scott in it because he's put the wife always gets right on my nerves. Hopes this counts. So I think you might let you in on that one, mate. I might just let you in on that one.
Oh, we've got someone else there. So we've got UK Reefer, and that'll be the last one. So let me just update that.
UK Reef Pro.
Yeah.
Very technical, this Paul.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're doing it and not me. I'll be picking names out of a hat, I think, in paper.
And
paper, yeah.
Write them all down.
His head explodes. Right. I'm just going to put in the chat closed.
Yeah.
Oh. Right, okay.
Right. So I've got one more to put in.
That's good. That's good. Who else?
So how many people are in it then, Paul? How many are in altogether then?
I'm just typing, and someone said they're not in there. Hayley said she's not in there, so I will update with Hayley.
Oh, got to get Hayley in there.
Right.
Yes.
So if you can just check, I think we're there. So I'm going to give it 5 seconds. And of course, if I say 5 seconds, it has to be longer than that because there's a lag.
Yeah, that's it.
I think we're done.
Perfect.
So I am now going to press.
Look. Drippy repeat.
Well done, mate.
And in a minute,
well done, mate.
say he's never won anything before.
Oh, he has now.
Absolutely. So congratulations, Chippy. You
Well done, mate. Well done.
Get
Well
in. So you need to decide what you want. Let me know.
Yeah,
That didn't take long.
that's it. Look at him. He's right on it. Yes. I've never won anything before.
Where's my violin?
Look, you know what? I love this guy. He's brilliant. You know what?
He
Honest to
is
God,
funny.
he makes it.
Oh, dear.
He's absolutely. He's a classic.
There you go. He'll be talking about that in weeks to come.
Was it him that was sat in his pants last week? Not that I was remembering that picture in my head.
I don't know. I've got no idea, and I want to know even less.
Yeah.
Anyway, talk to
Right.
Oh, well done, mate.
Like
well done.
Yeah.
Right. So, Drippy, you need to sort out what you want. Let me know, and we'll get it sorted out and posted out to you. And thank you to Coral Essentials for
Absolutely.
Good call. That
a number of occasions are brilliant. Thank you, and also a number of likes as well. So can't knock that as well. Right, we are down to the last 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
See if I've missed any.
Gone quick tonight.
Have I missed any comments? Right, you got the fox face. You talked about that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Any last questions or comments before we close off? Anyone in the chat? So I'm just scrolling down. Right, no, I'm totally up to date.
Oh, I think we're up to date. Yeah, I was just looking myself. Yeah.
There we go. I'm not going to leave it on that. Right.
I thought it was.
Right,
I'm not following this guy like Jay follows John. I'm in Skegness or wherever it was. I'm just saying that just it burnt a picture in my head. That's all I'm saying. Do
you know what? I'll get demonetized for that. It's not child friendly or even adult friendly or even only fan friendly, that one. But there we go. Right. So we've got one last question. What pH tester do people recommend?
I have the pH. I have the Hannah one. You know, the Hannah. I have that.
The red pen, Steve?
No, I've got the actual, the tester.
The grey egg.
Yeah. I have that, to be fair. But like I said, really, I mean, I've got pH probes, Anna. You know what I mean, to be honest. So I've got like three pH probes, in my tank. So which I don't really need it, but it in a sense. Yeah. Sorry, two in my tank. And then you've got the pH probe, which is in the Reef Factory KH keeper. So, at the end of the day, you don't really need it. But I do check it just to see if they're averaging out, like whether they're similar in accuracy. Yeah. And they do, to be fair. That egg one, it does seem to be bang on. You know what I mean? Every time I look at me, the ones in the tank, seems to be near enough spot on.
Yeah. I think for me, if whatever you're going to use, just make sure you're calibrating it on a regular basis.
Yeah. You've got to
you need to be calibrated monthly, because don't forget, in this hobby, it's salt water, and it dries up, it interferes. We're not talking about tropical fresh water. We're talking about salt water, and it can give misguided readings. So make sure you have got calibration fluid, and you are doing it on a monthly basis, is what I would say.
I agree. So I've got the Apex one. And again, it's on the 170 and it's really good because I use a CO2 scrubber. Yeah. And so I know when the CO2, so it is at the moment, I looked earlier on and it's gone below 8. So I know the CO2 scrubber needs refilling. So I'll have to do that tomorrow. So it's good because I know when it's spot on, it goes between 8.2 and 8.1. So I get that kind of 0.2 bounce with the CO2 scrubber, which I think makes a big difference. So I use the Apex one. But I mean, as Pam said about a Reef Factory, and I suppose with the Apex one, obviously you need the Apex brain, don't you? So that obviously adds to the money. But I think you can probably get standalone ones. I think Reef.
Well, I'm running both on mine. I'm running both on mine for the simple fact that I know I just don't trust one brand these days because I've had so many ups and downs over the years. I've gone, I think this is this, and then I've sent an ICP off, and it's nowhere near. So. I'm running 2, and again every other week. I'll probably use the manual test just as a just as a reference point, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. You know.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, we
Yeah,
can't expect these days it to be absolutely bang on. There's too many, you know, caveats, differentials, and whatever else. And
I'm just looking for
it's
a range.
like,
yeah.
Who does this and who does a KH test this way? And is it pink? Is it red? Is it this? There's so many different, you know. You're right. It's the range. It's the. Is it 7 or is it 9 or is it you know? Is it 0.5 or is it 0.1? And
that's like it. Yeah, that's like it in every sense, isn't it? It's like it in all test kits and all that, mate. It's in everything. You're not going to get, a 500, 600, 700 pound piece of machinery, to be accurate as nails, to get it spot on. It's not going to happen, mate. These labs and all that, they have 15, 20, 30, 50,000 pound machines that are doing it. You know what I mean? Yeah, we've got a 3, 4, 5, 6, 700 pound machine. All right. So look, all it does is it gives it a range of, like you said, what is there and thereabouts.
That's good enough.
The machine is basically saying this is what it's about.
If you know where it is,
this is what it is.
You know where it is.
Yeah.
But I just like the fact that if something doesn't smell right with this, I can then go, what do you think? And if that says no, it doesn't smell right, then I know it doesn't smell right. Yeah. If I'm making sense.
Smell right, exactly.
I'll fix it.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah. Right. Absolutely, mate. Totally agree.
We are out of time. I'll finish on this one. So he's proper chuffed. So
well done, mate. Well done.
Pleased with that. So thank you. So thank you everyone for taking part in the comments and great comments tonight. Some great questions. Thank you very much, everyone who's taken part. Thank you to Coral Ascensions for another freebie. So thank you. I'll be in touch with Drippy Reef Geeks details. And thank you to you two guys for joining us this evening. It's been a great evening. So everyone have a great weekend.
It'd be good to know what Drippy's feedback is on what he gets as well, just out of interest. What he thinks of it.
It's going for the power food.
Oh, is it?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, power food. It says it at 9.55.
Yeah.
It's going for that. You can't beat that, mate. You can't beat that. The power food, great. Excellent. Good stuff.
Right. Cheers, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Have a good weekend, all.
Yeah. God bless. Take care.